Our next speaker, Brandon Lee, is a senior majoring in child development, and he's our first speaker of students, and he is about to bring us all to our senses. Let me explain a little bit of what I mean. We have 5, according to most counts. According to some people, we have a few more, but we've got taste, touch, sight, smell, and hearing. Now, Brandon has spent more time in the last 3 years than most of us will probably in our entire lives thinking about what it means to be deaf. And in the next 8 minutes, he's going to bring to life the culture that comes along with that. So from language to culture to the ability to hear itself, Brandon's going to bring alive, he's going to offer up to us an idea of how we can take stock of these things that are fundamental to the human experience and yet all too often in the back of our consciousness. So please, everybody, lend him your ears, Brandon Lee.
Good evening, everyone. The title of my talk is American Sign Language and the Politics of Language. And by politics of language, I mean how we have come to value certain languages while devaluing others. Specifically, we'll be looking at a decision that was made here at Tufts 2 years ago that decided that American Sign Language, or ASL, should not count toward the foreign language requirement. And although that may seem insignificant, this decision had so much underlying meaning to it. And I'm hoping after 8 minutes, you'll all be as frustrated and as outraged as I am. Pitchforks ready and all. But before we go storm doweling, we're going to learn some ASL, because I think that'd be fun. And also, because I think most people think that ASL is nothing but a manual representation of English, such that for every English word, there's one ASL sign. And for every ASL sign, there's one English word. But that's not true. They are completely separate languages, such that ASL actually developed from French sign language, not English. And the lexicons are so different that there are many signs that don't have words in English, that can't be expressed so easily in English. But beyond that, because of the visual nature of ASL, it has this really trippy and really fascinating spatially dependent syntax. And we're going to understand what that means by learning how to sign this sentence. The mouse is under the table. Eddie Izzard, fans? No, okay. So we wouldn't sign the mouse is under the table, because that makes no sense. In ASL, what we do, we establish the setting first. So I'm going to walk you guys through the signs, explain each step. Don't worry too much about left-right-handedness, because that's a whole nother lesson. So everyone get those hands out. Everybody, not time to be cool. Okay. So first we're going to sign table, right? And when you sign table, you want to raise your eyebrows, bring them up. And by doing that, you indicate that this becomes the topic. Now, facial expressions indicate so much in sign language. They indicate sentence structure, questions, mood, and even sarcasm. And in this case, indicates that we're talking about a table right now. And then we're going to use this sign. And this sign is a classifier. And meaning it can represent any object that's flat, rectangular, or a surface. So this could be a piece of paper. This could be the roof of a house. But in this case, it's a table. And you just put it down. And then we're going to sign mouse. Just take your pointer finger, brushing against your nose twice, and that's mouse. Easy enough. And this is a classifier for small animals, which I think includes mice. And then we just put it under the table. All right, so let's take a step back. So table, and then you put down the classifier, mouse, and then bring it under, right? And if this sentence were more complicated, maybe the table is on the side of the room. Maybe it's slanted. Maybe the mouse is looking left. Maybe it's on its back. Maybe it's facing down. I don't know. So in real time, it looks something like this. All right, the mouse is under the table. So I want to do this exercise for 2 reasons. The first is that I think it'd be hilarious if everyone at Tufts knew how to sign one thing, and that was the mouse is under the table. The second is that here at Tufts, we don't study language for the sake of studying language. We study language in order to understand a culture. We study Russian so that we can read Tolstoy in its original text and have it resonate with us. We study Japanese so that when spring finally comes and we see that cherry blossom fall, we feel connection with nature. But if I were to drop a line about deaf culture, I don't think many people really know what that means. Because we often associate deafness as nothing more than a disability. We hardly think of it as a community. as an identity, as a culture. And in order to understand this culture, we need to understand ASL as an integral part of the community. So, last semester, I studied at Gallaudet University, which is the world's only college for the deaf and hard of hearing. And I like to describe Gallaudet as Deaf Mecca, because when you walk onto campus, everybody is deaf, and everybody is signing. But it wasn't a quiet world. It wasn't a silent world. Everyone always asked me, what was it like to live in a world without sound? But it wasn't like that. And I know it wasn't like that because every morning at 2 a.m., I'd be woken up to my neighbor blasting Empire State of Mind. And it was so loud, and the bass was so strong that even 2 doors down and across the hall, you could feel every beat. You could feel the music. And you'll notice other little idiosyncrasies too, such as in front of every door, there isn't a doorbell, there's a light switch. In the cafeteria, every single table is circular, so you can sit like this, so you can see those hands. But this is skimming the surface of what deaf culture is really all about. Deafness itself is a human experience, and the culture is a shared connectedness, is a shared set of values, beliefs, ideology. It is an identity, just like any other culture. And at the core of this culture is American Sign Language, to the point that at Gallaudet, a marker of your deafness was not correlated with how much you can hear, but how fluent your sign was. And I couldn't sum up deaf culture in a few minutes. No one can sum up any culture in a few minutes. But it's important to understand that there is this community, that there is this strong, vibrant culture, to understand the issue with what happened at Tufts. So, 2 years ago, Tufts decided that ASL should not be recognized as a foreign language, or should not be allowed to fulfill the foreign language requirement. And this may seem arbitrary, but within it there is so much underlying meaning. It implies that, on some level, ASL is less of a language than the other foreign languages taught here. And when the proposal was denied, the main argument was that it's not a foreign language. And here at Tufts, we don't have a language department. We have a foreign language department. But I would argue that there are 2 definitions of foreign. The first is something purely geographical, as in somewhere that is not here. But the second is that something that is foreign to us is something that is inherently unfamiliar. And I believe, based on that definition, ASL and deaf culture are about as foreign as any other language and culture to Americans. But when Tufts made this decision, it reflected a widespread idea that ASL is a second-class language and that deaf culture does not need to be understood or valued. But the whole Tufts ideal is one of cultural awareness, one of open-mindedness, of social equality, of social justice. So if here at Tufts, we cannot accept ASL as a language, we can't respect deaf culture, then how do we expect the rest of the country to? When Tufts made this decision, it sent a message. And whether intentional or not, this decision invalidated a language. And when you invalidate a language, you invalidate a culture, a people. So I leave you with one last question. What if Tufts invalidated your language, invalidated your culture? What would that mean to you? Thank you.